Welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magicians Podcast. I'll be covering every studio song the band has recorded and every bonus track that I can find. Each week we'll go over a new song from the beginning to where they are currently, and as they keep adding albums, I'll keep adding shows. Let the deep dive party begin.
In the magic garden, some were singing, some were dancing.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Uriah Heep, the Magicians Podcast. I am your host, Scott Haskin, and I've got a double dose of Showdown for you today. That's what we're going to review. Welcome to Monday, Uriah Heep fans. We have a great song to review today and two very different versions of it at that. Working on this album, it's been really interesting because it was such a transition time for the band that there were songs that were written before the album, obviously before the album was recorded, but before lineup changes. So we do have Gary on some of these, actually all of the alternative demo songs. So we get Gary and we get John Wetton versions, polished studio and unpolished rehearsal. It's pretty interesting. Now, before, of course, it is Monday. So I think that this is a great time for some gratitude to the network of people that have helped to make this show happen in one way or another. And first and foremost, I want to thank Uriah Heep for the endorsement. It is a wonderful pleasure to, dig into each and every one of these songs that the band recorded over the last 50 years. I can't believe I've made it through a little past midway through season 8 already. But at the same time, it feels like I've been doing this forever. But in a good way. I mean, it's been a lot of fun to do, and I've heard a lot of great stories from people. Seen so much love and joy spread for this band and the music that they've created. It's certainly exciting to be a part of it. And along with the band, there are a couple of people that helped make the show happen and help keep it going. Scott Lazinski, of course, the great graphic artist who put the logo together. And Dave White has been absolutely fantastic about spreading the word on the show. Got a blurb on the website about it. He is the social media he's a social meteor. We're off to a good start. He is the social media director of Uriah Heep. He takes care of all of the website stuff, Twitter, Facebook, and does a hell of a job with it. There's always cool things going on that he's talking about, very knowledgeable. And he does some Uriah Heep work as well as a musician, as a cover artist with his band, and lots of good stuff there. We're going to dig into that at some point here. But for now, thank you very much, Dave, for all the work that you do to help spread the word on the show. It really does make a big difference in getting the information about the show out to people, letting people know it exists so that they could check it out. Maybe they're just going to listen to the episodes I do on their favorite songs. Maybe they'll get hooked and listen to songs they don't even know about. Who knows? But every little bit helps. So thank you very much, Dave. And is it a good time at 10:45 at night to vacuum my entire second floor apartment? Why, yes, upstairs neighbor, it certainly is. I appreciate that you started vacuuming about 30 seconds before I was going to start recording the show. And then I realized I could just go ahead and record it because this is going to sound like an advertisement. This was not scripted. I use Instant Dialogue Cleaner from Audionamics, and that helps me take all of those extraneous non-voice noises out of my recordings, whether it be kids playing outside, which are still voices, but it works anyway. The airplanes that land just across the street at the airport. I don't even know what the airport is called anymore because they're changing the name, but it's the big one in Las Vegas. And, people vacuuming upstairs. So it is a great product. And for any of you people that are doing any work in voice, and it can even help clean up other noises and instruments and stuff. I've actually used it on an EVP, which was really an interesting experience. But in any case, Audionamics Instant Dialogue Cleaner, also known as IDC, excellent product. I will not do a podcast without it. I absolutely will not. I'd also like to thank our patrons, or my patrons, or our patrons. I don't know what they are, but we have some great people that help donate money to the show every month. It helps me pay for the monthly costs of the production. There's the cost for that. Then there's maintaining all the stuff. And then there's the monthly drawings and all that. So the show, it does have its costs, and I appreciate everyone who pitches in and helps me kind of, smooth out those costs a little bit. And on the $5 side of things, The Easy Living tier, we have Kenny Wymore. Thank you, Kenny. At the $3 The Wizard tier, we have Peter Voss, Goran Eriksson, and Frank Thielgaard Mortensen. Thank you, gentlemen. And at the $1 Traveler in Time tier, we have the claustrophobic Airtight Grave Site. Just gives me chills just thinking about it. I don't know if I'm claustrophobic. The closest I came to ever being like locked in a confined area was probably an MRI, and my head was sticking out, so I wasn't really that, confined or enclosed, I guess. I don't know if I'm claustrophobic or not. I don't think it matters unless I'm put in a position where I need to worry about being claustrophobic. So thank you very much to everyone. Every little bit helps for as little as $1. If you're interested in contributing to the show, you can go to the website at scotthaskin.com. Click on the Uriah Heep podcast link, and down at the bottom, there is a link to Patreon, as well as a PayPal link. However you'd like to do it. You could do monthly donations on PayPal as well. I believe when you click on it, it gives you that option, but you can also do them through Patreon. You can also do a one-time donation. You can do whatever you like. Anything is very much appreciated, including ratings, reviews, all that stuff. I haven't seen any new ones pop on lately, but thank you for those who have left it. It really means a lot to me. If you guys are getting something out of the show and would like to give a little bit back for all the effort I put into it, it's very kind and very much appreciated. So thank you very much. And speaking of people I appreciate, there are some people that are great supporters of the show that have their own projects going on that are pretty amazing. Let's start with the band's manager, Ace. He's got his show, Ace on Music, which you can get on Stitcher and YouTube. And he just put out a new episode, and it was really interesting, a topic I never knew even existed. He talks a lot about stuff in the music business and things that are going on, his experiences. He's been around. He's done quite a lot. Traveled the world a few times, he has. And he has a very exciting show. So you should check that out. Again, it is called Ace on Music. And also my friend Allegra, who has the website gottahear'emall.com. Fantastic show where she talks about the live histories of the bands Emerson, Lake and Palmer / Emerson, Lake and Powell, as well as Deep Purple. And there are a lot of other tidbits and notes and things that she puts on her site. Very well informed, very well written, and very detailed stuff. These shows and websites that are so good at research, I'm kind of jealous of them because, by the time I even find the website, I'm kind of just tired of looking. And that's just me. I just don't have the right temperament for that kind of stuff. And also, speaking of other shows, you guys heard it, Brandon at Metallicast, great show. He's got a show that he puts out every week about the band Metallica. I've always enjoyed their music. I've kind of fell off the wagon for a while, and I don't really listen to music a whole lot now, but their band certainly has a lot of meaning to me. And, let's talk about the Deep Dive Podcast Network. My brothers over there, John and Nate at the Deep Purple Podcast, who recently celebrated their 100th episode. Quite an accomplishment and a milestone. Well done, guys. Enjoyed every one of your shows over the last couple of years. The Simple Man at Skinnerd Reconsidered, who's got something, he's doing a little sidetrack thing on his show. It's really interesting. You should go check it out before he covers that last season of the, Lynyrd Skynyrd proper, you'd call it. Terry T-Bone Mathley at T-Bone's Prime Cuts on the Other Side, who has just recently started his show. He's a few episodes in. Probably one of the best interviewers I've ever heard. He's so comfortable with his guests, so knowledgeable, asking incredible questions. So comfortable, just really natural and relaxed. He does a great job. So check out his show. Rye at Sabbath Bloody Podcast, which is all things Black Sabbath melded into Ozzy Osbourne, and he's surpassed all the Black Sabbath songs now. And then, of course, our friends Paul, Joe, and David at the Lap of the Pods, the Queen Podcast. Always interesting, especially to hear the dynamics between three different people and three different opinions. They're all very supportive of the band and everything, but it's really interesting to hear three different takes on the show and stated with the best accents you could ever ask for on a podcast. So well done, guys. Thank you all for the support that you've given me. Some of you guys have been on the show as guests, and hopefully the rest of you will be visiting in the coming months. We still have a long way to go, a lot of episodes here on this one, so there's plenty of time to get in on the action. And, another podcast I'll mention briefly because I just discovered it. I don't know what even made me think about looking it up in the first place, but just out of curiosity, I went to my podcast app, and I was on Stitcher at the moment, and I looked up WKRP. If you guys remember that show from the late 70s, early 80s, WKRP in Cincinnati, there is a new show called WKRP Cast where they do a deep, deep, deep dive into every episode of WKRP. It's pretty incredible. And so, that's a non-Uriah Heep, non-music, well, it's still music related because it's about a radio station. They played a lot of classic songs on that show and a lot of songs you might not even have heard of. But very interestingly, I don't think they ever did a Uriah Heep song on that show. If they did, it was probably Easy Livin'. And I haven't seen every episode of the show. I didn't watch of too many episodes of the new WKRP when it came back because the dynamic just wasn't there for me. But they did play a lot of great music on that show. So check that out if you are a fan of WKRP in Cincinnati. Now, let us talk about Showdown. This is a wonderful song. I have two very different versions of it. So we're going to listen first, of course, to the pro-released album version. That seems to be a good place to start on the official release. And then we'll work backwards to the alternative version, which was the, sort of demo, a work in progress kind of thing. So here it is by Uriah Heep off the album Return to Fantasy, Showdown. Well, it's a very happy song so far. It just has this lighthearted kind of makes me want to just, bounce around the room kind of riff to it. Really interesting, too, to hear Lee Kerslake playing off of the ride and the hi-hat. Don't hear him play a lot of ride cymbal on these albums, at least up to this point. So it's really interesting when he does cut in on the occasion with it. Love the Hammond sound. It's a little bit further in the background to let the guitar shine a little bit more. Got the nice rhythm is bright in the mix, and I like that over on the left ear. And then, of course, you got a little bit of slide guitar on the right ear. And I'm going to guess, of course, that that's probably Ken Hensley. And then we're hearing Mick Box in the left ear. But so far, really happy, like a nice lighthearted, you think Showdown, you think it's going to be like dark and brooding and, there's going to be a showdown and it's just going to have that edge to it. But this is actually just really nice and fun. Well, this is pretty fun. It's got this really interesting accent that makes you feel like the beat is thrown off or that it might be an odd time signature, but it actually is in straight common time or 4/4. For those of you who listened to a recent episode where I demonstrated how musicians count music, that might make a little bit more sense to you now than it would have otherwise. But it's really cool. I like when bands put in little accents like that kind of make you feel like something's not normal. I really think that 4/4 after a while can get a little bit tiring, especially if every song has it and there's no real changes here and there, especially like on a full album. And I think back to the 80s when so much of it was just like straightforward common time music, and it's nice to have little accents that throw things off a little bit. So I really appreciate that. Love the sound of the guitars, love the organ. The vocals are fantastic, really energetic, a little bit quiet in the mix for my taste. I think they could have been a little more up front. But the backing vocals are just lovely as always. And Lee Kerslake and John Wetton are just playing with all kinds of energy. It's really nice.
We're gonna
I don't know if it's the riff itself or it's just the particular pitches or sound of the guitar, but that really reminds me of Tears in My Eyes. I love the sound of it, but it just kind of brought me back to that song for a minute. Kind of interesting. Well, there was a slightly awkward drum fill in there, but I love the sound of his ride. I mean, that bell is so thick and heavy, it almost sounds like a cowbell instead of a ride bell, but it really cuts through. It sounds great. I'm glad it's not any louder in the mix. Any louder, I think it would have been, starting to get obnoxious. But right where it sits, it's actually really, really nice. And again, I don't know what kind of cymbals he was using at the time, but I love the way they sound. Just fantastic. Beautiful vocal part too. I really like that, but I just love the feel of that change right there. Gives you just something a little different to play off of. And as I was saying earlier about Common Time, really glad that they put that change in there too. It really accents the song quite nicely. What a blistering guitar solo that was. It's a really long solo, but it's got so much energy to it and it's so creative. You know, that's the kind of stuff that I think is just his wheelhouse, the way that he can just touch on these accents that make it special. And again, he's so on the edge of bordering that feedback that would make it sound obnoxious, but it's like they compressed it at just the right spot, like right where it pushes up against that edge, maybe even pushes that edge just slightly, but then comes back. And it's absolutely magic how that sounds. Absolutely magic. So great job on that. You know, such a great passion in these vocals. You really feel like you live in this town and you're excited for whatever's going to happen, you know, based on the result of the showdown. It's kind of an exciting time for these people. And you're like, I want to know what the changes are. Like at first I want to know, you know, really know the depth of what's so bad that you want these changes. And then, you know, I kind of want them to happen. I'm rooting for these people in this town that probably doesn't even exist. But that's the beauty of someone who knows how to deliver a great vocal. Like I always say, he knows just how to draw a listener in and make you feel like you're part of the experience instead of just an audience member. And this song is no different. He's such a master of craftsmanship for vocals. That certainly is an interesting ending. I mean, we don't hear those kind of vocals from Uriah Heep, those, sort of low almost drone-ish vocals, but that's a really nice surprise and a really nice change. I like that they add the higher vocals into that afterwards. Like let's get a little taste of what we're getting here. Then we'll add another layer to make it more interesting. But overall, it was really cool. It's a good song. You know, it's a song that it doesn't feel like it's over 4 minutes long, but it is. It goes really fast because the music is interesting. It's an exciting song, and it's over before you know it. But it's not over because we have another version. We have the unreleased alternative demo version. And I hate the word alternative because it sounds like I'm talking about alternative music, you know, that stuff that we had in the 90s that was just weird. But I'm not. I'm talking about an alternative version of the song, this one with Gary Thayne on bass, and it's got some differences. So we're going to play through it a little bit and see what we can hear. Well, that's completely different, isn't it? There were no vocals at all in that section in the first version, and here they just built this lovely pad of sound, of voices. Sounds amazing. Also, there was no bass on those initial accents. The bass didn't come in until really the groove picked up. But certainly a different and interesting version. I really like that. I really like that vocal intro. It just has such a nice layer to it, doesn't it? It really feels good. I love the volume level of it with where it sits in the mix. I love just the sound of how they chose to harmonize it. We're also getting another voice that's making a couple of sounds here and there. It sounds like it was probably overdubbed because it comes over one of the vocal tracks. So I'm going to guess that was the case. I'm not sure, but either way, we also heard it at the very beginning. Sounded like somebody was warming up to eventually sing. But yeah, completely different opening. Very cool, though. I love the way it sounds. I don't know if I like the song better without it, because it certainly adds something to it. But then maybe that's just too much vocals for the actual final track. I don't know. That's going to be to everyone's personal taste. But either way, it's something different and interesting in this version for sure. So there was a nice prolonged sort of squealing guitar there in the background, but it feels, this part feels very similar. Obviously it's a little bit different of a mix, different bass part, but for the basic, idea, the song structure is already there and set, and it sounds good. It's got a lot of energy to it. I like this version.
Do you wanna be out of touch?
Well, that's a lot of standing in the booth singing "There's going to be a showdown." I mean, that really went on for a while. I could see why that was changed a little bit. I think it's missing the solo there over that section. I haven't heard this version before, so I don't know what's about to happen next in this particular version. But yeah, that was kind of a long passage, I thought. I mean, I love the sound of it, but it was just a bit repetitive without there being any real changes. There was some nice guitar fills going on in there, though, that I really liked. Reminiscent of what would be in the final song, but certainly added a nice little bit of spice to it, if you will. And let's see what happens next. That was a nice little solo, pretty exciting, not too adventurous, but it really suited the song very well. I like that. Very similar, again, to Tears in My Eyes. It just kind of reminded me of that same feel. Very, very nice, very true to the song. And that's one of the things I just absolutely love about this kind of playing and mixed style is that no matter, how fast or how out of control the solo seems to sound, it's always within context of the song, and I just love that about his playing. Well, that's certainly interesting. The lower vocal came in second. So here we have the higher vocals coming in first and then the lower vocal, as opposed to the last one where we had an isolated lower vocal for a few passes and then the higher vocals came in. Obviously, they had done some production work on the song, deciding, this does work, this doesn't work, we like this, we don't like that, and did a little bit of a rearrangement on it. But for the most part, it's a very similar song in structure. I really like it. I think the vocals are great. I think it's a fun song. The music is just highly enjoyable. Very happy. It's optimistic, and the music reflects what you hear in the lyrics. So a great song by Uriah Heep. And that puts us to the end of our Monday episode, folks. And I hope that you enjoyed this deep dive into the song Showdown. I hope whether it was on your commute or out walking your dog or just taking a morning jog or whatever you're doing, I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that your day is smooth and quick and you can get back home and do those things that you love doing. We'll see you guys tomorrow for another episode. Thank you very much for joining. Cheers. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Uriah Heep, The Magicians Podcast. If you have enjoyed this show, please consider going over to Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast outlet, leaving a rating or a review. Be sure to subscribe to make sure that you are notified when new episodes are available. Please be sure to share this podcast with your fellow Uriah Heep enthusiasts and anyone who you think would like Uriah Heep, which should be everyone. And if you are so inclined, please feel free to contribute to the Patreon account. And if you are not a Patreon subscriber, you can also pay through the PayPal link on the website listed in the show links below. I would also like to thank Uriah Heep for their very generous support of the show. And thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Happy days!